Hey guys, now you have a session with me and my imaginary friend. Okay, so we're going to cover a few different spaces in the next hour. The intention is to give you as much as possible to just refine and correct and answer. Like I was getting a stream of questions, which is normal. And normally we do this work over a few days, so it was great that I could travel a little later today and get the session in. Because, the first work creates uncertainties and questions and things like that, and that's totally normal. And as there was themes arising, I talked to some people, I said, mostly let's just get things answered over here. And so I'm going to say a few things about refining your approach to the calling. To say a few things about, people have a tendency to say, oh, there's this Bentinho, and then there's this, and they're like different, and actually, I want to show you how they're actually, as Ryan says, but people often, it doesn't land, that they're actually different entry points into the same thing. It's actually the same thing. And there's certain pieces of it that are an empowerment conversation, but it's actually an architecture for the realization, not empowerment. So it's not linear. And then possibly give you a powerful principle, which can give you so really open something up of both how you look both at your past and your present and future that leaves you very much at the source of things. So first of all, one thing that it can see the spread, and it's totally common. One of the things that's not fully landed with a portion of the population is that really get that you're calling. Hang on one second. So inside of that, there's only just one. There just is, and there's just one. I'm trying to create for you the context of the calling as there only needs to be one thing. So the calling is not about you. Right? It's not about you. So it's not like, hey, I receive this or I get this. It's not even say, I make people happy. It's that people experience happiness, and there's a difference. And I'm going to tell you something just really critical in this conversation. When you really get your calling, first of all, it is not about you, and it's because in that moment, as I ask people, when you know you've made a difference with another human being, it's like you cease to exist in that moment, right? They're just over there. You have an incredibly brilliant, fulfilled experience. It's like you need nothing else at that moment. There's actually not even you. There just is the beauty of existence. Does everybody get that? So good. So it's possible to live that way. And then as Bentinho says, every now and then you have this drop down to it. You have this bad feeling and you examine it. And you really do. That whole thing of examining this and your bad feelings, everything tells you something. And when we don't, it's like when you put the tape over the check engine light on your car. It's what you're doing, right? Or we actually live like this, like how we talk to ourselves and each other. It's like as if your gas gauge wasn't telling you how much gas you actually had, but what it thought you wanted to hear. You do know that you do that, right? Versus, I'm going to have an authentic relationship. Like, can you imagine your mechanic not wanting to look at the noises your car makes? Because that's what it would look like the way you look at it. I don't want to feel my bad feelings. Is everybody clear? But you actually want to open the hood and go, wow, what's going on? Because there's something off. And if anybody did that in any other aspect, like fixing, your electricity or your computer or your car, you go, you're an idiot, right? You say, let's examine what's off. So the whole thing is, guys. So the whole thing of the calling is that experience of, but it's not about the experience. The experience is a fallout. It's the fallout of not having your attention on yourself. It's like, now here's the cool thing. In the world of there is just one, why the calling, what we're calling, the calling, it's something deeper than just the word, is that it is the thing that when you deliver to another, leaves you fulfilled, so you're included in it. You don't have to worry about yourself, because if you really nail it, every time you do it, you're completely fulfilled. And so there's only one, the full, getting all your attention off yourself, the full delivery of the calling to others, or even the attempt to do so. leaves you fulfilled. So it's what fulfills you without having any attention on yourself. Is everybody clear? And you got to watch the pull to even, like here's the thing, if you suddenly get attached to the calling, that's just attachment again, that's not the calling. So you have to watch that whole thing we talked about, with what intention are you here? With what intention, from the first day, with what intention? And if you have a linear intention for a nonlinear dialogue, you'll reduce the nonlinear dialogue into a linear content-based phenomena. Please, yeah, please.
So the principle that he's talking about is the calling or this purpose. You would be excited about it if it's fulfilled if you had nothing to do with it. Like if you just saw somebody else living that way, you would be excited about it. So there's not like the need to take credit. It's not the need that it comes back to me. It could be that it's people are just, say, experiencing unity love, or experiencing they're the one infinite creator, or whatever the calling might be, or experiencing full expression. And it literally has nothing to do with me. I'm seeing it on TV, and I just get lit up. I'm like, humans, nice, there's hope. This is happening. Yeah. Or I could just be in a room radiating, and two people start getting lit up. They have a conversation. I can just see that they're starting to smile. They're getting lit up, but it doesn't get tracked back to me. It's just this like radiation, but I just get lit up. I don't even need the credit. I'm just sitting here looking at that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So similarly, I want to say though, I was noticing this at the No Mind Festival, but it still applies here, that in my reality, Anurag and Bentinho are working for me because they're fulfilling my calling. So when I'm sitting off stage and Bentinho's up here, it's my gift, it's my pleasure to be here. It's my calling because people are experiencing unity love when he's sharing. So supporting that mission is directly fulfilling my calling. Does that make sense also? Yeah. So you guys, I'm created by you, like I can be fulfilling your calling. So there's times where each of you will be standing up in that quote unquote leadership position perhaps, whether it's to your family, whether it's to your business colleagues, and it's more explicitly obvious that this is me fulfilling my calling. But other times it's more subtle. It's just this satisfaction, gratification.
Yeah. No, but that's really great. So that was good because just at the beginning of the lunch break, thanks for this because I forgot. There's one of the tests which I have been doing with people is if you had that land with another, if you had your life be about that, what would your experience be? And you feel the thrill. The other test is exactly what Ryan said, which is if you're, where's my guy from Magic yesterday? Where are you? Mr. Magic Man. Okay, stand up for a second. Yeah, you don't need a mic, just stand up. So now, this is the other test, right? So now, if given that your calling is that people experience magic, right? If you saw, now watch this. In the articulation of it, it's not the truth, but it's a rigor. People say, my calling is to have people experience magic. That makes it about you. Like I have to do it. Do you get that? But in the state of when you are the field, when you're the entire field, when it is just you, there is one, it's not I have to do it because that's still ego. That's you have to do something to get credit. Clear? When the calling is that people experience magic, right? So now, exactly what Ryan said. So if you saw either on TV halfway around the world or across the room, people experience magic and you had nothing to do. Exactly. Do you get that? You're like, woo! Right? Yeah, because it's not the doing. You are that field, and it can happen somewhere halfway around the world, and that's the resonance of you, and you literally experience a completion of your existence, even if it's happening 10,000 miles away with no doing where you are. Is everybody clear? It's so not about you, but you also know you are the existence of that conversation, and your being had something to do with that because you just are that. Clear? All right, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Sandra. Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a sense you guys will start noticing that these callings, they're all variations on the same theme. It's not like I have a very different calling than you, and mine is. It ultimately, when we zoom out, it's all the same theme. Yeah. It's just subtle, different nuances, different flavors or textures, which resonate with me.
Yeah.
And
it's if you say that imagine, like I sometimes use the analogy, we're a team of humanity. It's a football match. And everybody has their position to play, but it's just, we're all playing the same game. It's just the one game. Is that really clear? And you get your expression is in defense or offense, or you get whatever it is, right? There's one match, one intention. That we could say, in the way Bentinho has articulated, the intention is that enlightened society, or whatever it is. And then we have, if we surrender to our positions, like surrender fully, then that literally starts to arise. And in an invitation to have it both not be about you and to not take it on as an individual, but as a community, where I've been modeling some stuff, and what's been amazing, let's just say you get a group of people who are all committed to this work and their community. And my observation is that there's just one pattern in nature everywhere, and it's what wants to happen. One of the most important things about this work that people keep dropping out, no matter how many times I say it, it's about letting go of all your pictures of where you think you're going to. Hear that? Let go of every picture you have of where you think you're going to. I don't mean don't have some goals and visions, but just let them go for a moment, right? It's about getting this and living true to it with tremendous honor and integrity. You get that? Living a life of incredible honor and integrity. True to it now, and true to it now, and true to it now. And if you live true to it now, it's not where you're getting to, it's where you're coming from, and then seeing where that takes you. I promise you, it'll be more spectacular and exciting and all sorts of things than any picture you can currently come up with. Does that mean never have visions or goals? No, but have them be guideposts and allow them to keep moving and changing as you keep being who you are and watching, not being using as points of navigation, but absolutely not fixed attachments.
In other words, don't be be circumstantially focused, be state of being focused.
State of being now.
Don't take your cue from your circumstances, take your cue from your state of being.
Yeah.
It's the same translation.
100%. If you look at your best times in life, they're most powerful. That's there. If you looked at, we were doing this inquiry with, a few weeks ago, and when I was in LA, and people, okay, here's Gandhi, or here's Martin Luther King, or Mandela, or these other people in history, and what you saw was, I said, were they attached to a particular looking way, or did they stay true? Would the power was from staying true now and now and now? And if you actually look, it was so unpredictable, and what they produced was show not the predictable stream, but the source of it is they never compromised being true, no matter what was coming at them. Is that clear? And I'm not saying you have to take on something of that scale, but I'm saying that you can have that kind of state of being in your life, even if it's, I'm going to be a mother, but the joyful expression of that in your family can be as powerful. There's no difference in magnitude. It's simply living true. It's all of your attention and intention is on your state of being now and not where you're getting to. And I promise you that where you'll end up is beyond what you can currently imagine. The thing is, it has to not be about you. And you have to be open to what arises in that space. And one way I articulate it is joyfully fulfilling your purpose in life. And from different angles, Bentinho and I came to the same thing of joy as a different state than a lot of what we regular emotions. And the joyful fulfillment of your life does not mean you're always happy every second. Is that clear? Because it's like this. If you're like on the football field and you're just like chasing the ball with everything you got, like you're joyfully playing that game, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you're hurt. Sometimes you're out of breath. You get what I'm saying? You have many different feelings and experiences. Not every one of them, I'm in a perfect state of meditation, right? But when you're playing the game full out, when you're joyfully playing that game, you have many different feelings and experiences. You just don't have a problem with any one of them. Is that clear? It's not about because otherwise you live life trapped. I'm going to try to build a life as a fortress to not have certain experiences, which means you're now run by those things, by the fear, because now you're fear-driven. But in the joyful pursuit of the fulfillment of your existence, you have so much room for all the possible experiences because they're contextualized in the playing of life full out. And then you can go to what Bentinho was talking about earlier. It's like, wow, I'm playing life full out and I have this sadness. I wonder what that's about. You know, I'll give you an example. Anxiety. I've been really studying with people anxiety. And, you know, you have a trajectory in your life. Instead of trying to get somewhere, it's like, wow, how is my trajectory? How is truing up here keeps improving my trajectory? And I have observed that anxiety is completely a beautiful thing from nature to tell you, hey, your trajectory's off a little bit. If you have a little bit of anxiety, your trajectory is a little bit off. If you have a lot of anxiety, you consider your trajectory's way off. And what's cool, it's about trajectory, not outcome. Let me give you an example. If you know your finances are a mess, you have anxiety because you're not handling them, right? If you start today with complete commitment to start handling your finances and you're doing the work right now, even though it might take months to handle them, the anxiety disappears. You know why? Because right now you're correcting your trajectory. Does that make sense? So each one of those things that he's talking about, you want to actually go, wow, it literally is the check engine light or the gas gauge. Every one of those things. You want to be so curious. Curiosity is one of the most powerful things you can bring to the table. Go, wow, look, I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's behind us. And just look at it from what's going from a point of curiosity versus the very linear route of I want to get out of this or handle it right now. Just be curious about yourself. Anything you add to that? Cool. Yeah. And the thing is this, guys. So I just made some notes I want to see here. So it's the thing about it, if you could actually create some kind of discipline that reminds you, it's where I'm coming from now and now and now. Even if you can do that for a few weeks, the amount of shift you'll see will start to ground that for you. Now, here's the thing. This is not, the architecture of this is not an empowerment conversation. There's some pieces of it that are, but it is, I'm going to give you another aspect, say, of self-realization, another way possible to look at it, which is if your purpose is people experience magic, or unity, then where that gets realized is with others and in the world. Is that clear? So consider that having that arise in the world is the realization of yourself. Like if you design your life to have that actually happen and show up in reality, you're like, wow, that's who I am, is that harmony exists in a world, and as you're building and creating that, that's actually the realization of who you are, and that's also another aspect of self-realization. Is that clear? So, yes. Can't hear a thing you said. Can we get a mic to her, or stand up and yell it out?
What about not taking cue from circumstances?
That is not from circumstances.
Does that apply there?
No, but that's good that you ask, because people keep, she says, what about not taking cue from your circumstances? As you said, this is really great.
Because I was thinking at the beginning more of an inner experience.
Yes, but the thing is, you guys keep saying that, but if you listen to him and there's only one, then how can there be inner as opposed to outer? The kind of belly button. Sorry, I don't know why, it just came into my head, but guys, you keep going, oh, it's inner, but you guys like literally your speaking is dividing everything into pieces. I get what you're saying, but I'm not talking about taking cues from the environment. This, what Bentinho said last week, is either you let the environment create you, or you create the environment. But the environment does not cease to exist. Is that clear? And if you actually got it, you are the environment. Like there is no separation. So if you go inner and then ignore the outer, then you literally just now have created duality and separation. Is that making sense? So if you literally are harmony and you are not separate, then you're literally not disharmony, because when you see disharmony, you literally start to impact it, either just by being or even by doing. And maybe one of the most powerful things you could do is to take the dichotomy, the duality out of doing and being. Maybe consider you misunderstand entirely the whole phenomena of being versus doing. So that came up a lot in people's conversations with me. And so Lao Tzu in the Tao said this is a really great thing. He says, the man of superior integrity takes no action, nor has a purpose in acting. Right? The man of superior integrity takes no action, nor has a purpose in acting. So people think that if they saw that person, the person would be doing nothing. But that's not what he's saying. Do you have any idea what he's saying? What he means by that? In the flow, absolutely. In the flow, when you are being absolutely true in yourself, if somebody watched you, they might see you doing things. Do you get that? But you would not have an expression of you would not have an experience of doing. You're literally just being yourself, and yourself is completely trued up, happens to be doing whatever, but you literally have only an experience of being, and your body is doing whatever it's doing that's completely aligned and consistent with that. Which is different than unconsciously doing given by the external circumstance and purely survival, drop down into only doing and no being. But when we say being versus doing, we're not saying that there's no action happening. Is that clear? Otherwise, we could get you all into a state of being by the end of this, and your kids would starve. I'm not kidding. Do you get that? If you keep that strange idea, you would starve. And then your kids would starve. I don't know which one happened first, but whatever. So one of the things is to develop a more mature and authentic relationship with that conversation, and suddenly don't go, I'm going to make doing evil. That's just you once again in that circumstantial conversation. Slow down. If you actually get into that state of flow, you will have absolutely no experience of doing anything. You will have an experience of just being. You won't even have an experience, actually. Even that's dropping it down, right? Having to put it in that word. But you literally will be being. Afterwards, you might talk about an experience. But in the moment, it's just you. And that's a state of grace. Is that clear? So this is an architecture to be able to not have, like I was just sharing with somebody, I said, I have had also probably in my life 4 or 5 times the opportunity simply to depart this plane in an invitation and whatever, and I decided to hang around. I'm not exactly even sure, die or move, leave. Yeah. But not even like die the way you're talking, but simply move. Right? Like a relocation, like an eviction notice or something, like my rent's due, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. But it was in these deep meditations. It was like, okay, I've been doing this work for a long time with lots of people, and they say, you're done if you want to be done. And one of them was about 10 years ago, and I was in deep meditation, and in the world of more the being and doing, and I got just being, and I had, I said, wow, now I get why monks sit in caves in India and meditate and say, I'm transforming the world, just generating the field. So I decided in that moment to leave everything and go do that. And I had already resolved it, what I was going to do, when I was going to go, tell my parents. And then I did a set of more meditations, and then I had, I don't know if you'd call it guidance or instruction, but say, nope, you're not going. What your purpose in this lifetime is to bridge the two worlds. It started off as bridging, the world of here, the day-to-day existence, and then the world of the cave. And then shortly after some more meditations, it was the unconcealing of there aren't two worlds to bridge, because bridge separates the worlds, but it's the unconcealing of the lie that there are two worlds. Did we get that? And then somebody said it a couple of months ago. He gave me a way better way of saying it. He goes, oh, so instead of going to the cave, you're going to the cave, you're bringing the cave to everyone. That's actually kind of, we should get t-shirts like, bringing the cave. Why I'm sharing that, guys, is to give a little bit of context of my work. The architecture design is absolutely my commitment. And in working with people like Bentinho is that all of that could be brought, but not like a bunch of linear doing, not like a bunch of empowerment, but literally the state of being can exist wherever you are. Otherwise, like we were talking, like people are like, I got a spirituality, but there's no spirituality in business over there. Like, if spirituality can only happen in a location, that's not spirituality. Is that clear? You either are being it in every aspect of your life or you're not. So I wanted to just say that yes, the stuff I talked about yesterday has a linear aspect to it, but its purpose is not linear. Is that clear? So be able to separate that space and be responsible for that. Oh, by the way, so your version of I just got to share this one thing because it's so funny how much we riff and we don't. And we all sometimes I say to Bentinho, "Get out of my head." So the whole thing of meditate, play, right? And my own version of that becomes exactly the same thing. Is if you want your life to be even better than you ever thought, it could be simply two things: have enough, be awesome. Or meditate, play. I mean, okay, do you know what? If all you did was just make sure you had enough and you were just awesome with yourself and others, you know that you literally couldn't come up with a better life? Try that on, Just imagine that you just let go of everything and all you focused on every minute from now on, just have enough, because it's good to eat and survive, right? And just be awesome. Try it, see what happens. Or meditate, play, because it's the same thing. You guys, everybody clear? And then all that energy you're putting in other directions. And if you want a powerful structure, it's what we talked about yesterday. Actually, having every aspect of your life aligned with your calling, the calling which is not about you. It's about what makes your heart sing when you can have this happen with another human being, when you can see this experience of unity, of joy, or whatever it is, show up another person or have them have access to it, and it fills your heart with joy. Master that. So here's one important aspect. It's a game for playing in life. It's a game. I said this yesterday, but I want to slow it down because it didn't land. It's not surprising. Yeah, yes. You start a new game, you're a novice at this. A lot of people notice, one of the first things you notice when you create and get in touch with your calling is how much you are not it. Don't let that disempower you. You're like, oh, the moment you want to start to learn to ski, the first thing you notice is you can't stay up. You know, right? You start a new game, a new sport, the first thing you realize is how bad you are at it. Right? You want to learn to ride a bicycle, the first thing you do is fall down. But you're committed to riding a bicycle. So you get up and you get up and you get up, and then suddenly it clicks. And that's how this works. You get that? Stuff that's informational, you remember it, you memorize it, you write an exam, and you forget it. Stuff that sticks with you is the stuff that you had to struggle and grapple with, and then you got it, and it stayed with you. Is that clear? So if you want to have real access to this, you have to be willing to go, wow, I'm a novice at the game of my calling. But I love the game. So I love the game of people being source and being able to source also joy for themselves and others. And you know what? Like a game, I play it with everything I have. I'm a lot better now at it than I was some years ago. And I keep improving my mastery. So now, the more you fulfill your calling, the more it fills your heart. So if you keep getting better at it for the rest of your life, literally, the better your existence gets. And you start to, like I said, alter your relationship to aging. The thing is, at the beginning, until you get a little more mature with it, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing, I'm only doing it a few percentage of the day. How can I raise the percentage? And if you really get it, like if you love playing football, sometimes you lose, right? But you love the game. So if you really get the calling as the game of your life, you play it. And if your calling is, people experience unity, sometimes you'll fail, but you'll have loved playing full out, and you'll learn from it and improve your game. And it won't disempower you at all. Is that clear? It's just a really important little thing to give you some space to move through the spaces. And be willing to be a novice. The moment you create your calling, you'll see everywhere that you are inconsistent with it. So what? Now your commitment to bring it to others suddenly causes you to raise it within yourself. You don't wait to be perfect over here to do it there. Just start playing. And if you start playing with others, you'll start to raise it in yourself because you'll ask. The thing Bentinho talks about is not tolerating. Basically, your life is the way that you tolerate it. When you start to bring your calling to others, you suddenly become unable to tolerate it missing with yourself, and that more causes you to bring it alive than knowing you should bring it alive. So you literally generate intolerance by having a commitment to bring your calling forth to others, and you start to generate an intolerance within yourself, which is a very healthy and alive intolerance. Cool? All right, good. So those are some spaces. Let me see. Did you add anything, Ryan? I've got half an hour. Okay. Yeah, you know what I think I'm going to do is the creating, consuming, because then I can just like... hang on, I just lost my nose here. I'm just making sure. Say something or meditate for a second.
I'm really want to support Anurag since he's only here for about 30 more minutes to really get out the foundations, some of this content pieces, but these perspectives to try on, these clothes to wear. And whether we do that now or later today or tomorrow, we will have more time as individuals to get clearer and work what your individual calling is. Yeah. Individually, but as well as in small groups. Yeah. So we will have that experiential point. So when you walk out of here, there will be more opportunity to really get clear on what that is for you. Yeah. But he's still laying some other foundational groundwork. All
right. So yes, I'm going to create one principle, which is spent many years distilling a lot of different things into this one thing. Some of you have heard it before. It never hurts to dig into it again. And it's about source. It's about you being at the source of your life, at the source of your experience of life. It also gives you an opportunity to take full responsibility, like, wow, it takes all the mystery out of things. You apply it yourself as an individual, a family, a company, a nation. You can see, if you look carefully, you'll see all of the patterns. And it starts with also possibly the recognition of where the intention, even you might be in life or even in this dialogue, like what Ryan and I talked about on the first day, where you can have an intention that literally keeps you from the purpose of this dialogue or self-realization without you even realizing it. And here's what it is, right? So it's just really simple. So mostly in life, we're trying to get the most out of life. That's kind of the automatic way of operating for human beings. They're either trying to get the most out of life, or they've given up on trying to get the most out of life and are just surviving life. Actually, and this one of the things, again, that Bentinho was saying, he was talking about avoidance. I've sat down and I've taken a person's day apart, minute by minute, and almost all of our adult existence, without realizing, is avoidance. Can avoid an upset, can avoid feeling, even people's success is to avoid being poor, to avoid this. They're like how do I avoid, even with the children, how much of it is avoiding being a bad parent, avoiding their children being unhappy. Do you get what I'm saying? It's versus, that's very different than we're going to be joyful, we're going to avoid doing it wrong. There's so much. If we actually, that's energetically there. And that's why, but when you go, if you like playing a game or whatever you do as a hobby that you love, if you're skiing or playing football, you're so lit up. Why? Because you're not doing it to avoid anything. You're actually doing it because you love doing it. How come all of the rest of life in that is not that energy? Because almost all the rest of the life, the hidden intention is avoiding something. A great example he was talking about, you go, oh, I don't want to say this to a person because I don't want them to be hurt. Or I don't want to break up with them because I don't have the... No, it's total bullshit, right? You don't want to deal with the discomfort of them being hurt. It's all about you while you're saying it's about them. So now, there's a world that is. There's a world of trying to get the most out of life. People think that's going to be the most fulfilling state if they can get the most out of life. And I'm going to say that's not at all your most powerful state. That's a world of consuming. What can I get from life? And in that is a world of, these are some of the experiences. One of them is gratification. Another one is relief, like we talked about again on the first or second day. Distraction. This is the entire existence, the world of reacting. So some of the most common experiences or elements, ingredients in the world of how we normally live our life, 90 to 100% of our adult lives, is a world of consuming, of how can we get the most out of life. Because what can I get? And those are experiences. Now, and then sometimes we have peak experiences outside of that, and they really stand out as amazing, versus that's our state of existence. So the alternative to consuming is creating. And instead of gratification, creating has an experience of satisfaction. Gratification is that little quick hit. Somebody says, oh, hey, you look good, or you buy something and you feel good for a second and then it's gone, right? Gratification is very short-lived, and it comes always from the outside, circumstantially, externally. Satisfaction, you had a great workout, you played a great game, you worked really hard on a project, you did something, and you deeply in your core from the inside feel profoundly satisfied. You get the difference, everyone? Gratification, short, brief, comes from the outside. Satisfaction, absolutely, you sourced it, it comes from the inside out. When you're in a state of deep satisfaction, your mind is completely quiet. Creating also is an experience of joy. It's a world, if we watch you, you'd see your authentic expression, and it's a space of freedom. It's a world of presence. Consuming is what can I get from life? Creating is what can I give to life? And this is where your calling exists, because your calling is what can you give to life. So, I use examples. What people call, the honeymoon experience of life at the beginning of something, at the beginning of a project, the beginning of a business, the beginning of something, and it's really great, and then it fades, right? So consider that you can have that experience always, all the time, forever. You really can. The thing is, that experience is in the domain of creating. And you're creating, which is bringing into existence something that doesn't exist. Creating takes effort. Creating has uncertainty to it because you're bringing into existence something that doesn't exist. And then you stop creating and you start consuming and the juice is gone. We look at projects when we work with a lot of businesses, and if they're not a startup, we can see exactly when things went off. When they were a startup, they were on fire. They were like bringing into existence something that doesn't exist. They were so happy and joyful, working their asses off. They didn't care. Suddenly something happens. They get successful. They start making a lot of money. They stop creating, and they just start spending money on goodies and getting gratification. Or they get overwhelmed, and they're reacting to what's coming at them, and they just want relief from the whole business that they've built. And so instantly the experience changes, right? And at the moment you stop generating, the moment you stop creating, it didn't do anything to you. A lot of you as customers have experienced that. I love this business. I used to love this business, and they were creating things for their customers and for their community. Then the intention changed from, hey, let's do something amazing for people, to, oh my God, we exist and we must sustain ourselves. So the intention went from doing something great for you to keeping ourselves afloat, right? And then instantly, everything changes, yeah? You see this everywhere. Really, really good example is the other one I use is that whole world of where people I'm always interested in where people have had the most remarkable or magical experiences of life, and one of them is when people are madly in love with each other, right? And they're madly in love, and it's so great, and you're annoying to other people, and right? And then so when I interview people like that, I always get the same response pretty much across the board. I ask them, why do you feel so good? Why is it so amazing and magical? And they'll always say, well, look at this other person. This person in my life, they're so amazing, and that's why. And I go, so you're saying the reason it's so amazing is because of this other person being there? Yes. I said, well, then how come, as a general rule, the other person is still there when it's not magical anymore? Because if what you said was true, then it should stay that way forever, as long as you keep them, right? So here's my assertion, everybody. You know the space of creating, the space of making that effort? Even if you're like planning a party or coming up with ideas for a business, you could be sitting around with a beer and riffing ideas. You know when you have that really magical experience of coming up with stuff and riffing and that's that space of creating. That's why artists are willing to be starving artists, like just that sheer joy of creating what was not otherwise going to happen. Oops.
There's a green juice for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do. Thank you. Much better. Right? Consider this, that when you're first in that relationship and you're in love, do you know that all your attention, again, like your calling, is not on you? You're like, oh, I want to make them so happy. You're literally thinking of things to do. There's the regular drift of life, no creating, right? You're just reacting or responding to what's coming. But suddenly, when you're in love, you're like, you come up creating with things to do that were not otherwise going to happen, yes? I'm going to take them here. I'm going to buy them this thing. I'm going to write them this poem. But you're literally thinking, what can I do that was not going to happen that's going to make this person happy? Is that clear? So the magical experience as a function of your wanting and making an effort to create for another, not because they're there. It's like you're using the relationship as a canvas to create your passion, to be creative. Does that make sense, guys? So if you just get this, it could alter everything. And what you start to go, oh, see, your calling is not going to just happen if you sit around. You actually the commitment to your calling creates a creative state of your existence, which then you are source. Because if you're not creating, then the environment is creating you. If you're not creating, the environment is creating you. And of course, what's powerful is that what you want to be creating is a pure expression of who you are. And so the more you do that, the more you are creating the environment that is you. So you could if you actually got that, wow, I'm the source of that experience in the relationship. And if what you did was to every day say, one reason this relationship exists is so I can make this person's life magical and miraculous, how do you think your relationship will go? It's not complicated, is it? But what happens is we're in love and we're doing it to woo them and win them and then to make them happy because we're in love, and then we stop doing it and then we just show up. Right? And then the moment we show up, it goes from here to here. What can I get from them? Am I getting gratification? I need relief from them. I'm reacting to them, right? Because you just show up and it's like, and if you're not going, what can I give them, generate for them now? All you have is, what can I get? What am I getting? Am I getting what I want? Whatever it is. The magic is not a function of what they're giving you. The magic is a function of what you're giving them. It's your creative state. It's you creating how things are going. You know, one fun example I use, I've seen a lot of people have had an experience either in their older years going, my life is not as much fun, and they go back to do things that they used to when they were younger. That was really fun, and it's not the same, right? People have an amazing vacation with a group of friends. They rented this beach house or a ski chalet, and we had the best time of their lives, and then we have to go back in the exact same place and exact same people, and they go back to the exact same thing, and then they're all sitting there kind of, honey, did you not book the magic with the cabin this weekend? Because if you show up to consume something, it's not there. I was just sharing with a couple of people over lunch, like, you know, I've been an adventurer for my life, a lot of my life, and I go places and I'm really good at finding great and beautiful places, and, you know, walking, traveling, having a motorcycle, and, and I still do it, and it's like great. But I've now kind of transitioned to, instead of where, it's like who. Because you know the whole thing is that when you're creating with the person that you connect with or people, the right people you hang out with, you know how it never matters where you are? You don't have to be in this amazingly beautiful place. There's no circumstantial, because together you can have a great vibe and you can have the best time anywhere, right? Because you're creating. And you're not at the effect of, oh, I went here, and is the weather good, is the weather bad? Right? One of the most powerful insights I ever had. Oh, sorry, so I'll give you one more example. One more example was, like, this is a common one, and I do it sometimes with people that I work with, CEOs and stuff, but I make them drive home a different way from work every day, and they hate it, and then something pops. Because how you can drive home at 120 kilometers an hour and not even remember the drive, right? And 2,000 kilograms of metal that could kill people, but you're not even present. So when you're first moved to a new city, there's kind of this excitement. There's just, that honeymoon stage, that freshness. Because you don't have a relationship, you have to make effort creating a relationship. And then after a while you create a relationship, you create a body of knowledge with the city, and then suddenly you stop exploring. And suddenly it's not quite as exciting as it used to be, because you're now consuming the body of knowledge you created rather than continuing to explore and create. It's not good or bad, it's just an observation. Right? I forgot the other thing I was going to say. It's funny. All right, so what's that? All right, thank you for asking. All right. Yeah, please.
So this can obviously be applied as well to your meditation. So you can have an amazing meditation one day, then the next day you go to that same spot, focusing in that same way, and it's a little flat. And so when we're exploring these layers in consciousness, sometimes it could be one of these charts Bentinho does, and that lights you up. And then another time, again, being in this moment, where is the entry point? Like, where is the excitement? Where's the breadcrumb shell? Could I do that chart or this one? Ooh, let me actually focus in this way. Because that's another version of continually creating. Not trying to just consume to get, yesterday I figured out this meditation was great. Let me just show up, sit down, and get from it, you know?
Yeah. Which could not just run me. So this is a funny thing, which was actually really powerful for me. I had a business client. I did a lot of different things from him. And one of the things was, he's a wealthy man. He had a 75-foot beautiful motor yacht, and he used to use it and also charter it. And so I helped him create, his charter business, and in exchange, instead of getting paid, I got time on the yacht, right? It was fun, beautiful crew, 5-star chef, and I've got we're out in the Mexico, and these whales are breaching and all this stuff, and it's amazing, right? And I remember sitting there drinking a cocktail, watching whales breach, and go, this is pretty amazing. And I had this complete flashback, this is so funny, to the first year when I moved to Vancouver, and I made really good friends with this guy, Pete, who's been my best friend for 20 years, and we just have an incredible time together. And I'd worked really hard that week, Sunday afternoon, and we're going to just hang out. So I go to his place. It's in the winter in Vancouver. It rains like crazy in the winter. So it was pouring. It was just pouring. And I go ring his doorbell. His wife opens the door, and she hands me a raincoat and a shovel. I'm coming just to hang out. And so it turns out that they just bought this house, and there was cracks in the foundation, and water was coming into the basement. So me and Pete and his brother-in-law were now going and digging in crazy torrential downpour, digging out around the foundation to get below the cracks, right? So it wouldn't leak in. So I'm sitting there on the yacht, and I'm actually realizing that I actually had more fun that day digging a trench around the house than sitting on the yacht. And I wasn't having a bad time sitting on the yacht, but it literally was. It was creating something, but there was just, I don't know, it was so circumstantial. And the pure joy of doing that, hanging with Pete, doing what needed to be done, the sheer joy of coming in afterwards, taking a hot shower just after being freezing and all of that was absolutely, the yacht was not even on the scale. I mean that authentically, right? I really mean that. Guys, you know what I'm saying? I just want you to maybe consider slowing down and get what it is to create, and create right now. and not get anywhere and acquire anything and have to achieve anything. But right now, and that, like for me, that was just, we were just being true to what was needed and wanted, and my love for my buddy, and what, I mean, I don't even have words for it, but it was so true. That's, you know.
Totally. I mean, that reminds me of that time I went to this retreat. It was like this amazing, like, spiritual retreat in this, like, amazingly big castle.
Yeah.
And, like, my friend was camping, and it, like, rained, and they got all wet, and they had to go in and, like, huddle in the shower to warm up and stuff, and, like, it was the best time they've ever had, in retrospect. And then I was in this room, and I had these, like, bunk beds and, like, these mattresses, and oh my God.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. So that's funny. Yeah.
We might think we wanted you might not get into it now, but I love the analogy or the story you have of your really rich clients who came and then you gave them the scavenger hunt and stuff.
It's a perfect example. It just takes 3 minutes, so I'll share it. But so there's no.
I was going to say something before that. Hold on.
Go ahead. Yeah. No. Please. Yeah.
And it got derailed. Yeah, good.
All right, good. Well, guys, to give you an example, so people, the creating is in the phenomena of now, and it's so yeah. Actually, this is good because people make a mistake with this distinction, and they go, oh, but I'm in creative field. I'm a painter or I'm a musician, so I'm always creating. No, you're not, because if you did, you would always be having this experience. If you're not having this experience, you're not creating. And what I mean by, like, all of us have had an experience of an author we like or a band we like, and then they produce something and it's terrible, right? They could be consuming their own stuff. They could be like, it's wary. Consuming versus creating is not what you're doing. That's content. This is not content. This is not content. This is context. This is source. So you can create with anything, and you could consume with anything. And saying that something is creative or is consuming is just not being source. The day this happened for me is a time in '97 where I had this experience, like I want to drink. And then I hated that experience because I like a really good whiskey. You know, like again, it's like, so I enjoy those things. But I just wanted to drink to have relief. Do you get that? I wanted relief from some anxiety. And so I don't like that experience outside of me having a pull because I'm a commitment to source. So I stopped drinking that day. I was going to do it for a few weeks, and it ended up being 6 months just because of the flow. And then I still remember the day I started again, which I was with my buddy Pete. We just reshingled the roof of his garage. Right? Yeah, I guess we had a great time. You know what? We actually have a great time. Like, we do anything. We actually love working because we even created dishwa-ho, the martial art of dishwashing. And then we have a great time dishwashing, and everybody leaves because we're idiots, but then but we have fun. Anyways, so then his wife brought out, it was a hot, sunny day, she brought out 2 honey brown lagers and some snacks, and I sipped this beer, and it was like literally perfect for that moment, like perfect. And I actually got, and we have a whiskey and a cigar, we just create that moment, that evening, that 2 hours. You get that? We create. You might create a wine with dinner. You could go, I want whiskey because I want to numb it myself. That's consuming, right? You could go, I'm going to have a perfect whiskey and a perfect cigar. We're going to have a great dialogue. We're creating a moment, right? You could go, I'm exhausted from the day. I want to watch TV and shut off my brain. That's consuming. You could say, I sit down with my son. We're going to put on our favorite movie and our favorite snacks and have a great evening. Is everybody clear? If you blame activity or the substance, that's just consuming. There is no thing out there. You are either creating life with it, or you're using it to consume and be unconscious. That's your deal. And so therefore, you can bring creating to anything, right? Including shingling a roof or whatever it is. And so one of the examples I gave is I had these clients that were billionaires. And when I said, you need to come, they're a couple, and do a few days with me in Vancouver, the first thing they do is say, hang on, let me check with the pilot, because they have their own plane, right? And they have 2 pilots on call 24/7. They can fly anywhere at the drop of a hat. They have a massive estate in the States. They have a 600-acre ranch in Aspen. They own half a floor of a building in New York, in Manhattan, right? Like, they're just super rich. And but their life is not very, well, I'll just share the example. So when they flew in, I had my business partner show up at the private airport where their private plane comes in and hand them an envelope, and that's it, and the car keys. And the husband was annoyed. The wife was intrigued, apparently, and then they got in the car and they had to open it. It was a scavenger hunt. The first thing they had to do was to go to one of my employees' houses, who's got 3 ridiculously cute little boys that love hockey, and they had to ask each one of them a certain question about hockey, about the Vancouver Canucks, and then when they got all the answers, they collected the answers, and they got a box and another envelope. And then the envelope gave instructions to go to a hardware store. There was a picture inside, say, find something to fix this. And we actually purposely picked a shady area of town just to make them a little nervous. We actually picked an area of town that was not so good where the hardware store was, just to have them a little fun with them. But anyways, then they opened the next envelope, and then they had to go downtown and sit at the outdoor cafe of the Fairmont Hotel and just wait there. And then one of my other employees came, dropped off another box, another envelope, then they had to go to another place, then they had to go to the liquor store and buy some whiskey, of course, right, and some scotch, right? And then eventually they came home to my house. And by the time they came home, they were like laughing their heads off, right? They were just like laughing, and they had this hilarious time. And so I helped them bring the luggage in, and they came into my house, and we sat down, and I said, so now do you guys want to know what you did? They go, yeah, tell us what happened. What did we do? I said, you ran my errands. Right? So running errands can be boring, or I said, you also got yourself from the airport to here when normally you would just get in a limo and be unconscious, right? Here's what's funny. They can, and they do, a drop of a hat, get in their plane and they fly to the Caribbean, some great place, right? But they still talk about that as one of their funnest times. Clear? And what they did is they ran my errands and they got from the airport to my house. So creating isn't, later, it isn't some other time. It's how. Are you going to source the very nature of what you're generating right now and right now and right now and right now? But it's a state of consciousness. It's a state of source, of awareness, awakeness, and responsibility. And you can bring it to anything you're doing. Anything, whether you're digging a ditch around the house, running errands, or traveling, or going to a party. But literally, it's only you. And a place to start and anchor from is your calling. So if your calling is my calling is that people can experience, joy and love, then you actually go, oh, that's just not happening automatically. I have to bring forth creating. What to create, if you want to know what to create, that creates the highest flow state of your life. Keep working at creating your calling, be in existence for yourself and others. And I think that's my time. Cool.
Yeah, let's give a round of applause. Or a hand.
Yeah. All right. All right. I'm going to go create some fun in Italy. Oh.
Yeah, it's been really fun with Anurag. I mean, most of you probably know, we mentioned it, I think, but we were at the No Mind Festival together, Bentinho, Anurag, and I, and this Anurag's mind and the experiences he's had with life and really having the rubber meet the road, like he's genius at this stuff. And so this message of this combined message is taking shape more and more. And so yes, we're still adjusting to different speed frequencies and everything else, but it's been a gift. And there's a question in the back? Or, yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, beautiful. So she's saying that the speed Anurag has actually really helps her because she just focuses, get present, and just goes on that ride. So absolutely. Absolutely. There's an energy. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a 20-minute break, and then we're going to come back for some more fun. That will also be interactive. So 20 minutes, so be back here at 3:50.